Okay.
You did our whiskey history or research. I'm gonna pour it and taste it while you're talking about it. Does that
All
work for
right.
you?
Yeah, you're like, we're just moving on here. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
transition. We're just doing this.
We,
You're angry.
there's nothing that gets me fired up more than Caleb Williams to the
Caleb Williams
Bears,
to the
except
Bears.
Kyle Pitts.
Or Caleb Williams.
Kyle Pitts to the Bears with Caleb Williams.
Okay. So as we
Sorry.
put that back in the bottle, hold up the bottle.
Yes, ma'am.
As we mentioned earlier today, we are trying Restoration Rye from Castle and Key Distillery.
Really cool bottle. Very heavy.
As soon as we open the box, like this was really exciting to receive and get to try this. So thank you so much, Castle and Key. As soon as we pulled this bottle, I was just like, wow, it's heavy. The glass is heavy. It has all the metal finishings. Like even the stopper has that thick metal on it, the metal bands.
I took the stopper out, and this thing is heavy.
Yeah, like it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's got you know me and my bottle and the architecture of a bottle.
I know.
It even has the metal like released in 2023 at the bottom there. Let me see, camera. There we go.
Yeah.
It has Castle and Key imprinted into the glass. I love the design of this bottle.
Yeah, big shout out to Perla. Perla sent us this, so big shout out to her.
Big shout out. This is wow. I said wow when we pulled this out of the box.
She did.
Wow.
Yeah, you a bottle and label and everything like that is a huge thing that you notice. And with this one, you can't not notice it. Calm down. With this one, you can't not notice, in my opinion.
Nope.
All right, you talk. I'll pour and taste.
Castle and Key Distillery is located out of Woodford County, Kentucky, and I think that's they're in Frankfort, Kentucky. Yeah. And the distillery, it's beautiful. It's a castle. There's an actual castle there.
I got a photo.
You do. Show the photo. There you go. It's just beautiful. The castle's like off to the right there. What you're seeing is like the main distillery, but there's a castle there. So
I want to go.
I want to go too.
Yeah, 100%.
We can. I'm not to spoiler alert here, but they have Airbnbs. Wow. Castle and Key does.
In the castle?
No.
Their
houses that they restored. So all right. It was this their distillery was previously the old Taylor distillery, and Castle and Key began restoring it back in 2014. The actual castle itself was built back in 1887 by Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor Jr.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful, but we're here to say it. The site first served as a distillery dating back to 1819.
So I'm just going to go ahead and assume if you are a whiskey fan, you know the whiskey E.H. Taylor. I'm going to assume that's named for him.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes.
It would make sense.
It would be. So it was built back in 1887, and it was only not even 40 years. 1920 Prohibition forced the closing of the distillery, and it changed hands back and forth, different occupants, until it basically fell into ruin. And come 2012, just about a century later, Will Arvin came across photographs of the abandoned distillery, and it really just captured his mind, and he thought about it until he found himself going there himself to see it. And when he went to see it, he took a flashlight, there's roofs that are caved in, everything's covered in overgrowth and vines, and it's abandoned and probably a little scary. And I would be scared.
I'm sure you would.
It's a little creepy going there by myself.
I would be like, this is cool. You
I know.
Would be like, this is creepy.
If I'm going to go by myself, take a flashlight in the middle of the day because it's so dark and all these buildings are caved in and I'm in this old 1800s castle. And anyway, so it's just, I just go back to horror movies. But no, I'm sure this is really cool. He had this vision and he wanted to see this place restored. And so he went out there in 2012. They purchased Castle and Key in 2014, started restoring it. and turning it into like back into a distillery.
Mm-hmm.
They first released clear spirits, so like your gin and your vodka, in 2018. And then the Restoration Rye that we're trying was their first aged spirit release.
Oh, nice.
And they released it in 2020. In March 22, they released their small batch Kentucky Straight Bourbon. And that bourbon was the first bourbon distillate to be distilled and released at the historic old Taylor Distillery in 5 decades. So really
Wow.
cool.
Yeah.
So if you're in the area or looking to travel, you can book a tour. This place it's so cool. It's a huge place. You can do the tour. You can walk like the botanical trail through the gardens. They're located along Glens Creek, so you can grab a cocktail, go outside, walk around,
That'd
sit
be
by the
cool.
creek. Their place, like you can also like use it as a venue. They rent it as a venue. It would be a pretty sweet venue.
Yeah.
But I also saw that if you're looking to stay in the area and stuff, they have Airbnbs. Not I at first I was like, sweet, we're booking an Airbnb at the distillery. But no, they restored different historic houses in the area. They
Mhm.
have the Shanklin House, the Field House, and the Stone House. So yeah, that's
Interesting.
really cool. You can
Yeah,
go
for
stay at a
sure.
Castle and Key Airbnb, and yes, they decorated like Castle and Key. Like I think it was like a photo of the stone house I saw. They have like a C and a K on the wall, and yeah.
Calvin Klein, right? Oh,
Yes.
no.
They also have Castle and Key 502, which is located within the Falls City Market in Louisville, Kentucky. So you can go, you can shop Castle and Key merchandise. You can have a drink at the bar, sip cocktails while you shop. But yeah, that's in that Falls City Market there. So before we get into like some of their other products that they have, let's talk about this Restoration Rye.
Yeah.
So
let's do it.
Here it is. I was like picking up my old fashioned. I already told you I tasted chocolate in the old fashioned, and you did not use chocolate bitters.
No.
But
So
before we go into like the what we're tasting and smelling, each batch of their Restoration Rye is blended using a series of pods. And what that is each pod, it's created by grouping barrels to create the perfect sensory profile. So the mash bill for the Restoration Rye is 17% corn, 63% rye, and 20% malted barley.
Okay.
And
I'm going to stop you real quick. That makes a lot of sense because I won't say all the taste stuff I'm getting yet, but I get a lot of barley, more than your regular. You get a lot of that like malted, just kind of a barley taste. It was interesting to me. Anyways, sorry, go on.
And they've had many batches over the years of this, but this is batch 1 of 2023. And a batch size for the Restoration Rye is 120 barrels. So
okay. It's not huge.
I don't think that's
big,
huge. It's a lot, but I don't think it's really huge.
Yeah.
And it was aged 3 years, and this proof is 106.5.
And it does have some heat. It's got some kick, but not.
It has to like it stands out. I'm assuming like whatever it's doing in this old fashioned, it's phenomenal.
It was really good in the old fashioned for sure. It has some kick, but I do like that the kick stays here for me. None of it goes down. So I smelled chocolate. I told you, you mentioned that, but when I opened the bottle, I smelled chocolate.
I don't smell
right
chocolate
away.
here in
Don't
a smaller dose.
Do you want me to tell you what I'm tasting, or do you want to taste it first?
I want to taste it first.
You're going to need a couple times. So I'll just talk about the smell since you already did that. I did get some chocolate. It was there's some sweeter smells there too, besides just chocolate. And then a lot of spice.
It's very spicy.
Yeah, there's a lot of
kick
spice
at the end, like
yeah. No, I know that's the first drink. I took it and I get all that spice.
I've got to do my 3 sips.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do my 3 tries.
Yeah, I'll wait. But the thing, yes, it's higher proof, but also just the flavor is very complex. There's a lot of different stuff going on there, and it makes for a really good cocktail. Old fashions are meant to be drank with a rye.
Yeah.
A lot of people, a lot of restaurants, a lot of people do bourbon, but
I think my
originally
first
it
old
was made
fashioned I
with
ever
rye.
had was with bourbon.
Yeah, and originally they were made with
Makers.
rye. Makers, yeah.
And
this makes a really good old fashioned.
I'm just gonna go Four Roses. That was like my
the single barrel used to be your go-to. Yeah, very, very rye forward, obviously, very spice forward. But after about my third taste, I started getting some like sweet citrusy.
Sweets. I
don't
know
get
if I'm
citrus.
This is I don't know. Do I get citrus? I don't think I get citrus.
Well, you're right and you're wrong. No.
I think I get like hold please.
Mm-hmm. It's more towards the end. Like once I have swallowed it and I'm sitting, I get like orange. I don't know why I said it orange instead of orange. I'm trying to be fancy, obviously. I get a little bit of orange. Get some orange. I don't know.
No,
this has a lot of flavor to it, though, for sure.
Not orange.
No,
not citrus. I don't get citrus at all.
You don't.
No, there is a fruit there. I'm trying to pinpoint it. We need our whiskey wheel.
It's in a thing right down there, but we don't have to get it right yet. He's just trying to blindly look.
It's right on the shelf?
No. It's in the...
Okay, well, we're just going to... I'm dropping stuff.
I see that. It's in the basket there, but that's fine.
Yeah, on the shelf.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking in.
That's not... You said it's on the shelf. It's not on the shelf. It's
what
in a basket.
What do you have in this basket? This basket drives my... It is no longer organized.
So
I organized
story
this
while you're doing that. Our cat, which I don't know if we've talked about on the pod, but we have a new cat as of...
End of October.
And she's on the edge of my desk, which this is my desk I work at for my real job too. And she's just looking at me. She's sitting and looking, staring me right in the eyes. I look over. She's looking at me. What are you just looking at me for? And she just starts backing up while sitting, but backing backwards and just down off the desk, falls off of it and grabs said basket that you just reached in as she fell and tipped it all over. And then just looked at it and sniffed it like, hey, what happened here? But she looked at me in the eye the whole time as she just started backing up and fell. She was looking me in the eye as she fell. I don't know what she was doing. Anyways, you found the whiskey wheel.
Yeah, more dried fruits, but it's not prune or apricot.
Maybe. I still get orange. I get a lot of orange with it.
I don't get citrus.
You don't? I do have a little bit of the baker's chocolate now that it's sitting. Like just the finish, I feel that in my mouth. Like I've had some baker's chocolate.
There's a richness. It's like a rich taste.
Consistency is good. It's not a thin
it's got
whiskey.
A good mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Am I using the terminology correctly?
Yeah. I mean, it's not thick, but it's not too thin.
Mm-hmm.
So good mouthfeel. Yeah, I don't know. What else you got on it?
I think you're right. I think that malted barley really, even though it's only 20% 20% of the mash bill.
I still think, from what I've seen of ones we've had before, that's higher than a lot of them. And yeah, that does stand out.
At the back of my mouth, you know, when you have like something very cinnamony, it kind of feels like that back there.
Like red hot cinnamony or cinnamon stick of gum?
Cinnamon stick of gum.
Yeah.
Cinnamon gum. Yeah. Yes. Cinnamon gum.
Yeah. No, this has a lot of flavor to it. A lot of spice. A lot of peppery spice in there.
This sounds weird. Apricot to apricot. And then that barley. Yeah. And big red gum.
I like it. Now we had the taste profile covered. Let's see what they say. Aroma: baked apricot, demerara sugar, dried cherry, ginger, honeysuckle, cinnamon, allspice, and pumpernickel.
Ginger could be giving me that feel. Yeah. Oh, cinnamon is in there. That's the aroma though.
Taste:
pumpernickel,
baked apricot, cane syrup, baking chocolate. I did get baking chocolate, fig, ryegrass, candied
Fig.
orange. Maybe we're confusing ryegrass for the malted barley. Maybe it's more of a ryegrass
Ryegrass.
taste.
And then I said maybe not fig, but maybe it's a combo of
Yeah.
apricot. But there's
You said
candied orange in
apricot
there.
too.
See,
Ah.
when you said citrus, I'm thinking like tart citrus, like
No, I get like a sweet orange.
like a
Orange.
candied orange.
Says fresh rose. I don't get that. But I also have never tasted a rose.
And cinnamon and clove.
And the cinnamon, you pointed that out. The clove, now that I read it, that's probably a lot of the kick of the spice to it. And then finish candied orange,
round mouth feel,
because it makes you go, whew. Warming.
I don't think that's what that means.
No, a warming, medium, lingering spice. I definitely get that because I felt like the spice is just hanging around there, and
it's
then
good.
it
feels like when you have like how your taste buds are all sizzly when you have a big red gum.
Yeah. Yep. No, I definitely get the cinnamon. I get orange in mine. Some of the baking chocolate, and then just a lot of rice spice. I
don't get any floral to me, and maybe it's just kind of hidden there.
Yeah, this could be.
But I'm really picking up on the what?
Oh, I just like what RD said. This is your real job. The other one just pays the bills. 100%. Would love for the real job to be drinking whiskey and talking football.
That would be something.
Yeah. This is really good. It's complex. I like it in both, but I think for me, it's a cocktail.
The old fashioned was phenomenal.
Yes.
I can't say that enough. Like we drink because of the show so many different old fashions.
Yeah.
This was good in the old fashioned. It was a standout, but different. Like, because you made it just the basic old fashioned, but with theirs. And I thought you used some kind of fancy bitters. I was like, did you throw the chocolate bitters in my drink?
Nope.
It tastes chocolatey. It tastes like a chocolatey old fashioned.
Yeah. Yep.
Agreed. And that proof point, like that is, it's perfect to stand out. Like it doesn't, you don't lose it in a cocktail.
I feel maybe this is weird, but I feel like this would be really good in a Manhattan too. I could just really with the sweet vermouth, it would kind of offset that sweetness with chocolatey and yeah.
Well, but I don't get chocolatey on its own. It's when it's with the other stuff in the old fashioned that the chocolate really comes out to me. Because I swear you put chocolate bitters in that.
I'm trying to think of another drink that I feel like this would be good in. A Boulevardier. This would stand out really well in a Boulevardier, in my opinion. I guess I haven't made a lot of those. Is that bourbon or rye normally? Do you remember?
Bourbon.
It's usually bourbon.
I think.
I think this would.
I know when we first had it, we had it with bourbon. Maybe that's not right.
Yeah.
When we had it at a restaurant, it was made with bourbon.
All right. While I'm looking this up, why don't you tell us
one
some
thing
more?
About a Boulevardier is that isn't it made with Campari? Is it no, not Campari. Amaro? One of those like fancy liqueurs, herbal liqueurs, but I hate the fact that it's the only one that's out there. Like there's not another, and it's
Campari is Campari.
Is it Campari or is it Amaro? Which one is it?
Campari.
Campari. Yeah. Is that it has dye in it.
Yeah.
Artificial dye and coloring. And that like puts me off of it completely.
Per the Goog, but actually per liquor.com, most recipes utilize bourbon, though some people prefer the spicier quality of a rye whiskey in a Boulevardier. This has an amazing spiciness and it's just something that I think would stand out great. Yes. And I want to make one now.
I think this would be fantastic. We need to try this in all kinds of different cocktails, but it's definitely interesting and unique enough like on its own
for sure
to have it neat if you enjoy having your whiskey neat. I've come to enjoy having whiskey neat more often than not, but definitely stands out in a cocktail. Before we get into their additional spirits, I did want to point out that their restoration rye for the 2023, it got double gold at the Denver International Spirits Competition. Nice. In 2022, it scored 91 points in the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, and that's like excellent.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. In 2021, it got gold at the San Francisco Spirits Competition, and then they did get another award in 2023. It was gold at the Bartender Spirit Awards, and I can see because a bartender should really consider getting this. Like this 100%. Is like super unique in a cocktail.
Agreed. Yeah. the point system at the Ultimate Spirits Challenge, you might be going, I have no idea what that is. Above 90 is really good. We were talking with Brian Knoll, and I think, don't quote me on this, but I feel like he said Pappy got a 93, I think is what he said. So, I mean, Pappy is what people put on a pedestal for whiskey, right? So if you're getting a 91 and you're close to Pappy, you're doing something right.
Yes. Yeah. So some of their additional spirits, they have the Restoration Rye single barrel. They have, which I already talked about, their small batch, this small batch wheated bourbon.
Wheat.
Cool whip. Okay. They also have something that I think is really cool, and I did a lot of like clicking after I was reading on this. They have Untold Story, and it's like the untold story of Kentucky whiskey. It's unique. It's like a 2-barrel blend whiskey featuring Hickory King corn, which is an heirloom variety of corn, and it's aged 5 years. But this Untold Story, it's a collaboration with the Kentucky Black Bourbon Guild, and it has it's a very special limited release that was created to celebrate the contributions of African Americans to the spirits industry, both in history and present day.
Oh, nice.
And so then I also was reading that like diversity and inclusion, it's extremely important to the distillery. And with this limited release, 100% of the proceeds go towards the Castle and Key Scholarship Fund. So I was like, well, what's the Castle and Key Scholarship Fund?
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and it's a $5,000 diversity in Kentucky distilling scholarship that supports students of color who have an interest in working in the distilling industry in Kentucky. And it's also, if you get it, it is renewable. It's a renewable scholarship for 1 year, like for one additional year.
Oh, that's cool.
Of study. So I thought that was really cool that they do that. And they
study to be
collaborate with all of that with the Kentucky Black Bourbon Guild.
That's cool.
And as we've had like different like distillers on, like even like Victoria Edie Butler, like we are finding like so much of like Black history in distilling and bourbon, and even like Tennessee whiskey, or is hidden, and it's getting like released, and the history and the stories are like the untold story, they're being told, and it's really interesting. It's exciting to give the recognition there. So I thought this was really cool with their untold story. But yeah, it's just a special limited release. 100% of proceeds go to the scholarship.
Really cool. Interrupting you real quick, Artie said it sounds like it would be good with a ginger beer, not as mule, but just with a ginger beer. Ooh, I really agree. Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah, for sure. I told him to start carrying it at the Moose, and I'll come drink that.
They also, so they have a lot of gins. So gin for me is second to whiskey.
Yeah, it is.
Second to my whiskey and my bourbon. So is gin. Like that is, if I'm going to have something and it's not whiskey, it's usually with gin.
I don't know what I would pick.
You're just whiskey.
I'm just whiskey.
You're just whiskey.
I like a couple gins. So
you do.
Yeah.
You've tried some of my gin cocktails or whatever. But they have many gins. They have 2 rotating gins. They're their seasonal gins. So right now, they still have the limited released for the fall and winter seasons. It's their Harvest seasonal gin. And I wish we had a photo of the label, because the label got me. Like, not only are there like herbs and flowers all over this label, but they have those vintage gold like flower cutting scissors.
Oh yeah.
Like that. I didn't buy gold ones. I bought like coppery ones for the garden to cut my herbs and flowers in the garden. And then they have a blue colored key with a castle, like an antique key with a castle in like the swirly part.
I have noticed that their labels and bottles, like
there's so much that goes into it, and it's really impressive. So yeah, the Harvest seasonal gin is for the fall and winter. They have the Rise seasonal gin for the spring and summer. They also have the Roots of Ruin gin and the Wool Gatherer gin. So there's a lot of information on their website. You can go and check those out, see what those gins are about. They also have the Sacred Spring vodka, and they do have a cocktail mixer. It's a Millville mule cocktail mixer that
I
they
got a
make.
lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Roots of Ruin gin. For some reason, just it sounds like
Mhm.
something that should be in a board game. The Roots of Ruin. I don't know why. Yeah, that's really cool.
Mhm.
A lot
And
of different
all
things.
have the same. That's all their Castle and Key bottle,
Yeah,
but
same shape.
the artwork on the labels is really cool
Yeah.
and it's neat.
From the different whiskeys I've seen on their page and stuff, their labels are very
Mhm.
cool. This is really something I would recommend trying, especially if you like ryes and cocktails, but it's worth trying on its own too.
Mhm.
It's different, it's complex. You drink it and you can tell it's not a bourbon, you can tell it's a rye, but it's not like, when you buy, without insulting some of the bigger companies, bigger whiskey makers, when you buy a rye, you're like, okay, this tastes like it's one of the ryes. And that's kind of where it stops.
Mhm.
This, you can taste it's a rye, but there's a lot more to it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say we haven't really I can't remember the last time we had one of the more bigger brand distillery
Right.
whiskeys though, since we've developed more of a palate.
Right.
Because we
That's
really
true.
have. We thought we had a good whiskey palate before, but we really didn't.
You're right. Agreed. Yeah.
So it would be interesting to go back and kind of try it. Like I still think
I've had
craft
some, but
distilleries are just
yeah, I like the
they're
uniqueness
awesome.
of
Yeah,
them.
they're so unique and different regions. I'm excited to where I can tell. I think I got Texas narrowed down. Texas is there's something about
I
Texas
saw
whiskey.
something today about how Texas whiskey has a Texas funk, and
It
people don't
does.
mean it in a bad way.
Remember when
But
we
that
were
has a
trying
Texas
from
funk.
balconies, like I'm tasting Texas here.
Yeah, a little
This is a
taste of
Texas
Texas. Yeah,
taste.
yeah, we're getting it.
Yeah.
We, you're right. We don't drink a lot of the big ones. We've also read a lot about a lot of the big names. They're using fairly the same recipe.
The
I mean,
same
there's a lot
recipe.
of the same
Well,
recipe
they're
being
not
passed around.
craft. They're not
Right.
craft. It's like the same
Yeah.
and but you get the same when
Yeah.
you get to them. So like batch like this is batch 1 of 2023. I'm sure it tastes different than batch 1 of 2022.
Right.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like because
Which would be interesting to
yeah,
compare.
do you know what I mean? Mhm.
This, so I poured a second glass, and it's much milder now.
You poured a second glass.
I did. It's much milder now than that first one. It does surprise you a little bit with the heat, but when
it's very complex.
let it breathe some, now it's a little bit smoother. Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of complex flavors there. So go check out Castle and Key, whether it's the Restoration Rye or one of the other many different products that you talked about. That wheated bourbon. I want to try that. Let's catch up with the chat real quick before we get out of here. RD says, have you tried the Revelton Mulberry Gin yet?
Oh my gosh, yes. A couple years ago, because here in Winterset, we have, oh my gosh, it's blanking on me.
The Drift.
The Drift. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they have Revelton whiskey and their gins, and they have a Revelton mule.
Yeah.
A mulberry mule. And
you're a big fan of it.
It's good. Is it a mulberry mule?
Yeah. Mulberry.
Now I'm second guessing myself.
Because it's their mulberry gin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm second guessing myself on the drink. But
you're
really
a big fan of that.
Yep.
We need to have them on the show sometime. I mean, they are fairly close, so it would be good to have them to support. And
yeah, they're like 25, 30 minutes from us.
And oh, I get it. My mother said I do a lot of wool gathering after drinking a few whiskeys, which I didn't understand at first, but counting sheep, gathering wool. She does a little sleeping after drinking a few whiskeys. I was confused at first, but I'm with you now. I got it. This is very good. Castle and Key Restoration Rye. Perla, thank you so much for sending this to us.
Thank you.
And thank you to the Castle and Key family for sending it. We really appreciate it. Really good. Highly recommend it. And check our social for a nice page or a nice picture of it. You took a really lovely photo of the bottle because it is, and we didn't, sometimes when we take photos, we had like some oranges or a glass. This just really stands out. Yeah, it stands out. So we kept it simple. But yeah,
I'm running out of textures and places in our house to take photos. I'm like, every time I have to come up with something new and a different idea. I used our lamps today.
Just so you guys know, if you are in the Des Moines area, the Moose, the Flying Moose, does have the Revelton products.
Ooh, awesome.
And he said that RD said that might be a good idea for a live pod at the Moose since he carries a few other products. That'd be sweet.
That would be.
For sure. Do you have anything else you want to add? Next week, we're going to be talking about kind of the free agency and some of the rumors we're hearing and how
we'll have Redwood Empire
and we have Redwood Empire next week. Yes, thank you for that.
On the 7th?
The 7th.
Yeah.
Yes. The video might be released the 8th, but the pod will be available on the 7th to listen. So anything else you want to add?
No, this has been fun.
It's been a lot of fun. Good luck if you have dynasty drafts coming up. Good luck with them. Have fun. Make sure you shoot us questions if you have them. Otherwise, my whiskey's almost gone. Going once, going twice.
Sold.